Good day and welcome to Drew's Book Reviews. Today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. Some things that I've heard around BookTube is that not enough BookTubers really slam or give critical or negative reviews of books. And so I thought I would take a few moments to kind of share some books that, well, quite frankly, I didn't like and I would not recommend. So this is my books that I don't recommend reading video. Stay tuned. Okay, so a lot of these books are just mainly from memory of what I remember reading. It's definitely not an all-inclusive list of every book that I've ever read that I didn't like, but just some that come to mind when I think about books that I really didn't enjoy or didn't think were that great of reads overall. So the first one that comes to mind is Joy Chance, Red Moon, and Black Mountain. Now, I thought I had a copy of this book somewhere around here, but I can't find it, so this picture will have to do for now. Anyway, from what I remember of it, I'll try to link the reviews to each of these books, the ones I have reviews on anyway, in the description below. But I do remember I found it a unenjoyable, kind of boring read. I remember the copy that I had was very, very small print, and that might have been part of why I didn't enjoy it. It was difficult to read because of just how small the printing was, and it was a very small physical formatted book. But I do remember I didn't really like it. I didn't find the story intriguing. I didn't really find myself getting into the book overall, and it was just generally not the best, most enjoyable read. So I'll try to remember to link the video reviews to that below, so definitely check that out. That is one that I just didn't like because it just didn't flow for me. And like I said, probably a lot to do with the formatting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one day I'll reread it, and who knows, maybe I'll like it then. But I do remember I didn't particularly like that book. So the next book on the list that I really didn't like was Saving Jesus by Razor Blade. This is a book that honestly was just not good. The writing was terrible, the characters were terrible, the grammar was terrible. The plot and story development and execution were terrible all around. This was not a good book. It just wasn't, and I didn't enjoy it. It was one that was sent by a self-published author, so it's really unfortunate that I didn't enjoy it. I really hate giving bad reviews to authors who have gone out of their way to send me physical copies of their book at their expense. Because, I mean, in a sense, that is an investment for them. And so I'm always disappointed when I don't enjoy what they've sent me. So I definitely don't like giving bad reviews. I would absolutely admit that. But sometimes a book just isn't good. And this was one of those. So this is definitely one of those on my do not recommend book list. And just overall was not well written at all. It was just terrible all around in terms of it. I mean, I thought the story had some good potential to it, but it just executed poorly. Definitely would not recommend that one. So the next up are a couple of books by an author that I have generally enjoyed quite a bit, but these particular books by this author just were not that good. And one of the Orson Scott Card, Songmaster. This one was, I read this a really long time ago. I don't think I've ever put a video review on this book up on my channel, and I probably never will, to be honest. It is one of his older books. You know, every book comes with its praise on the cover, but I just did not think that this was praiseworthy of a book. The essential concept behind Songmaster is these boys are raised from virtually birth to be these expert songmasters or singers when they're basically given away to the rich and famous to be their entertainers and using the power of their voice to basically influence and express their emotions of their masters, essentially. And this book, now Orson Scott Card has been a really strong advocate against and as a anti-LGBTQ or GSRM advocate. And that I felt from what I remember of this story. Again, I read it a long time ago. This is based on how I remember it and looking back and thinking on it. This is basically a story about a 12-year-old boy sent to an emperor who begins this love relationship with this emperor, and it really kind of basically it positions it as homosexuals equal pedophiles, and it's just not something that I could appreciate in a writing, and it's not something that I could enjoy in a writing. I didn't know that at the time that I read this book. But Orson Scott Card, definitely being a well-known advocate against homosexuality and LGBTQ, and really just being an opponent of that particular group of people, and it really comes through in this. And it's just the way he paints this picture. Now, he definitely tries to tell a story that isn't just, gay people or pedophiles. It definitely comes across in the characterization in this book from what I remember of it. So this is definitely, I don't recommend this book to anybody because it's just not the kind of book that I think is positioning these people in the way that they should be, or in a respectful way. And it definitely seems to have that messaging there. And that's just not something that I could go for. The other Orson Scott Card book, Lost and Found, actually recently did a review of this one on my channel. Terrible. 2 stars. Just characterization wasn't that great. The story wasn't that great. Execution wasn't that great. It really lacked a lot of depth. I didn't connect with the characters in any way. Just not something that I found that I could really enjoy. And that's kind of one of those things, one of those books. Generally, I guess I'm just not enjoying Orson Scott Card as much as I used to. But yeah, I mean, this is one that I just didn't enjoy that much. And overall was not a very good book. So yeah, definitely check my channel for the review on Lost and Found. Not one that I really enjoyed. So that's 2 Orson Scott Card books. I really don't feel like I can continue to read Orson Scott Card. I just feel like the writing has gone downhill, or my view, or what I enjoy maybe has changed. It has changed, I'm sure. But that is definitely one of the books that just ain't working for me from Orson Scott Card. So it's actually 2. The next one, Brandon Sanderson, is actually one of my favorite writers ever. Absolutely love his Cosmere stuff. Definitely one of my top favorite writers. But there is one book by Brandon Sanderson that I really didn't enjoy, and I probably wouldn't recommend personally, but I know others have enjoyed it. Looking at you, Dragon Army Books. I know that you enjoyed this one. I watched your video on that. But Brandon Sanderson's The Rithmatist. I just didn't think it was all that great. Now, to be clear, I don't think it was absolutely horrendous or terrible. Just not that good of a book. I thought it really fell short of flat compared to other Sanderson books in terms of storytelling, characterization, and magic system development within the world. So The Rithmatist, not one that I really enjoyed. I believe it's just basically it's more of a young adult, but I don't feel like it really accomplished that same level that we've come to expect from Sanderson with things like Mistborn and Stormlight Archive. It just wasn't there for me. But again, not super terrible, but I probably wouldn't recommend this one. That being said, I wouldn't say definitely don't read it, but I certainly wouldn't be one that I absolutely recommend or anything like that as well. I think I actually have a review for The Rithmatist on this channel. I'll have to go back and check my archive, but I'm pretty sure I do. So the other one are 2 books actually by Terry Goodkind, author of The Sword of Truth, which has been one of my favorite fantasy series ever. But Terry Goodkind kind of branched off to create a new series of books that I honestly did not like. So it started off with the book Nest. So this one is basically a psychological thriller about these people that can see who a killer is just by looking at them, basically. There are 2 books in the series. Well, so far, Terry Goodkind has passed. I don't think there will be any more, or if there were more released, I didn't bother getting them. But Nest being the first one, and then the second one being The Girl in the Moon. So ultimately, this series of books, particularly The Girl in the Moon, more so than Nest, from what I remember, my feelings on it, but read a lot like more of a political commentary, and definitely seemed to be more of like a propaganda piece almost, in terms of politics and gun control and crime, and it's just, I didn't like the execution. I thought a lot of the decisions the characters made simply didn't make sense. It was some of the other things that were said about the characters and who they were. So this one, particularly The Girl on the Moon, and Nest here, just were not the best books. Like, Good Kind did not do all that great with these two. At least that's how I felt about them in general. And I don't think, again, I don't think Nest was better, I think, than The Girl on the Moon. But ultimately, definitely not books that I would put out there as recommended reads. So those are just some of the books that I have read that I honestly didn't like. So it's not always a yay, great, awesome book type deal. And, admittedly, it's not very often I come across a book that I simply did not or do not like. But it does happen from time to time. And so for those who say BookTube doesn't have enough people saying books are bad, well, here you go. Here's a list of books that I didn't like that much, or I wouldn't recommend, or I just thought were absolutely terrible. So that is my list, just the ones that I could think of right off the top of my head, essentially. There are probably more out there, like I said, that I didn't like, and I admit it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally I do come across a book that I just don't like for whatever reason. And that would be anything that I would basically say is less than a 3 rating in general. I don't even remember what I rated Nest, if I even rated it on Goodreads, but in any case, those are just some of my thoughts on, here's some books that I wouldn't recommend. And, let me know what you thought. Have you read any of these books? Do you disagree with me on them? Do you maybe like them? Whereas I didn't. Definitely, of course, as always, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And, keep watching. You never know when I might come across a book that I don't like and when you'll see that pop up on my channel. But like I said, even though a lot of them I do enjoy, there is occasionally ones I don't like. So thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye.